Welcome everybody to Cinerama 60. It's Mike and John with
Hey,
you
what's
as
up?
usual. What's going on, Mike?
Not
Got a
much, man.
Yeah, I don't know how prepared I am tonight for this, but I just kind of had a listed as an open discussion for the most part. Maybe some ranting, raving about movie collecting. I don't know. You don't
Yeah,
hear
we
that
can
too much.
we can vent a little bit.
Yeah, I really don't know where to get started. Do you have any kind of peeves you wanted to talk about, or anything to start out with?
Um,
Actually, actually, before we get started, I thought, well, maybe we could talk a little bit about what you thought about the Will Smith situation.
oh, good
I know
Lord.
it. I know it's cheesy, but I thought we'd start out with a little bit of pop culture stuff. I know it's stupid, but it's
No, well, I mean, I'm seeing there's like two different, viewpoints, of course, as always. But I think what he did was just kind of. I think he could have got a hold of himself a little bit. First of all, I don't think the joke was that bad. Everybody should be able to laugh at themselves, especially if you have a disability or something. You should be able to at least laugh about it a little bit and stuff. And from this is my opinion from looking at her hair. I mean, she really isn't like bald. She's just got a
yeah,
little spot that she's suffering from, and
yeah.
I wouldn't have took it that hard. I don't know if
His
he just overreacted, I think.
yeah. He
So
does she still have her eyebrows and everything? Because like true alopecia, they lose like all their hair, like everything. They don't have eyebrows or any
mm-mm.
hair whatsoever.
I think
So
she's still got her eyebrows and everything. You can still see her stubble. I mean, she had a shaved
yeah,
head at the time, and you could, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's
it's
what I
not
was
like,
noticing.
yeah, it's not that bad. I don't think. I mean, yeah, I don't suffer from it, but I can't say anything. But
Well, that's just the way of the world anymore. The people try to, especially in Hollywood, they just seem like they're promoting this victim status. So anything they can get victim points on, that they just overhype everything. So and then I
mm,
think that's just what it is. She's just using it as to get like sympathy points or something. I don't know. It's pretty silly. Like the different people I listen to on YouTube and other places, it's either everybody thinks they faked it and it was staged, or that it's completely real. So I'm just
yeah,
staying in the middle till actually people come out and start talking about it, and to find out, because I don't really
no,
know, because the way it looks either way. It looks either staged or it looks real. I mean, I don't really know. I don't.
yeah. Well, at first, I thought, wow, that really happened. But then I thought, well, maybe it was staged. Maybe they were just kind of joking around. Maybe they took something too far. But really, after you see the smack, and then he sits down and he starts yelling stuff out and everything, that's when you kind of saw this was kind of real. But I mean, you
Yeah.
gotta think either way. Chris Rock kind of kept his composure, and he played it off good, so that was pretty good on his part. But I don't know,
Yeah.
as far as like they're talking about what kind of punishment. I mean, they're kind of having a delayed reaction to it. They should have done something then after it happened and everything. And they tried to say they're saying they tried to escort him out, but he wasn't having it or something, and then it that didn't work. So I don't know. I don't think they should take his award away per se. I think that's a little extreme, but I don't really know what the punishment should be. I mean, I'm not really sure on that.
Yeah. Yeah. There were some people talking today that they came out and said, at first they came out and said that we had asked him to leave, and he
Mhm.
refused. And then they backed off of it and said, no, we didn't ask him to leave. But they had discussions. Then they eventually came to the decision that we're going to allow him to stay. So who knows?
Yeah,
It's it's all this stuff is just the
it's
media will use it to. I'm sorry, I'm bad about that. The media will use it just to take away from like the war and stuff. They'll take away people
yeah,
distract from the war. Basically, they use anything
yeah.
like that and overhype it.
It's a little bit of a distraction. I mean, it's overhyped. It's not that important when you come down to it. I mean, it's like, okay, that happened Sunday night, Monday night, or Monday morning. Everyone's going to talk about it. This should be over by Friday. This really wasn't that big of a deal. Maybe for Will Smith or something, but for everyone else, it's like it is what it is. But um, what was I going to say? Just it's just blown out of proportion, and I don't know. It's just ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like a lot of
yeah.
stuff.
Well, it's like everything. People take it to the next level and start getting a lot of bringing a lot of things into it that's not necessary.
Well,
Start.
it's the knee jerk theory. Everything's a knee jerk immediately. Like somebody's offended before they even finish their sentence. And it's already a huge debacle. Before it even. And it's
Yeah.
kind of just kind of dumb. It's like people don't have any common sense anymore. They just don't.
Well, a lot of people, a lot of people have been talking about how, she's pretty infidelitous. It's pretty crazy. Like why you'd even apparently she just completely rules over him in the family because he was laughing at the joke at first, and then like
Mm,
she got a frown on her face, and then he jumps up like he's enraged, like why would you defend this? She's literally sleeping with everybody in town,
yeah,
like
yeah. Yeah,
you
she had
know
a very publicized affair a couple of years ago where she actually left. And until that night, and it all happened, I thought they were actually divorced. I didn't think they were together. And then, that was how it was shocking to me because it's like they're still together. But
yeah.
yeah, she had done all this stuff to him, and he should have just been like, maybe he should have just sat back and kind of had a laugh and not done anything about it. But it really wasn't that bad of a joke. I mean, it was maybe
No,
slightly in bad
it
taste,
was,
but that's what a
but
joke is. A joke's a joke. But
yeah, but these people, I mean, these people are paid to be, these are comedians. That's why they come on. They bring them onto the show. They bring them on to do that, to rip into into the people there. That's what they've always done. And Chris Rock is like one of the most notorious ones for doing that. And that's like the lightest weight joke possible. It's not even wasn't that funny. It's not even.
yeah,
It wasn't even bad.
it was kind of
You
a
know.
it was kind of a bad dad joke in sort of a way, but yeah,
Well,
it's just the MC is usually the roaster. He's going to roast some people a little bit, and just everybody can laugh at each other. You know what I mean? 'Cause it,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're all overpaid people sitting in a room with huge egos, and they need a little deflating. And that's the whole point of it all. And I think I don't know, it just got out of control, I guess, because he
Well, it's
totally
just
lost his cool, and he should have just, I don't know, he should have
Hollywood's
walked
just
it off at most.
yeah, yeah. That's just kind of embarrassing for him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, do you think his career is going to hurt his career or anything? Because it seems like he's on an
Not
upswing now with that movie.
not this in this day and age. It won't hurt him.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
it's
with
very well. It's good promotion for Chris Rock. It's like his
yeah,
comedy tour is like selling out everywhere now, so it's good promotion, or what do you
yeah,
call it? Good publicity for
yeah,
him.
yeah. Well, they what they say any and all publicity is good publicity, even if it's bad
Hmm.
for them.
Yeah,
I mean,
I just
he hit him to embarrass him. He didn't hit him to be malicious because he could have closed his fist and probably knocked him out.
yeah, he's a lot
Especially
bigger.
especially how just open he allowed to be Rock allowed him to self to be hit. Because he just kind of that's what a lot of people think it's fake because he kind of leans into it. I don't know if he was just expecting him just to get in his face and like kind of come, maybe he was thinking he was going to, do some fake acting and pretend like he's mad and didn't, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, like I'm gonna punch you. Like
You know,
I'm gonna punch you, man.
you
Just
know,
play it off, but he didn't. But they're trained, man. How to
Yeah,
take a hit, how to take
yeah,
a punch and stuff. A lot of those are fake. When we watch it, it looks real. But there's a
yeah,
certain way stuntmen do it, where kind of like wrestling in a way. Some wrestling
yeah.
moves, it looks
Well,
real, but it's not.
and I always think back to I was always a fan of the show. It's all everybody hates Chris, and
Mm,
it's kind of like loosely based on his life story. When he was a kid. So
mm,
and he was always kind of a small guy. I think he's always just kind of taking a butt kicking. He's always had to. He's never been able to really defend himself being a smaller guy, and that
yeah,
might just be his natural reaction. Hey, I'm just going to take it. And, you know,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think like what you said, he didn't know if he was just joking or what, because it happened so fast. So I mean, but I mean, at least he didn't. I think he would be more embarrassed if he would have fell down or something. But he kind of shook it off and kept going
you know,
with the show. Which was,
yeah,
but I don't know. That's just kind of ridiculous, really. I mean,
yeah,
well, the other thing, man, I was going to say, did you heard about Bruce Willis? Like he's retiring. He's
yeah,
got that
yeah.
disease now. So I wonder if that is why he made some of the choices he's made lately with some of the movies and just kind of phoning it in. Some of
Do you watch Red Letter Media?
no, I haven't
No,
watched
do
that.
you know who I'm talking about? They're just like some reviewers. They're pretty good, but
No, I haven't. I actually haven't heard of him.
yeah,
Actually.
they here late. Well, they just do a lot of movie reviews on there, and they do a lot of different things. They've done a lot of different things over the years, but they had couple. They had a couple of episodes where they had been doing like those bad Bruce Willis movies. All those movies, those really the ones you're talking about, the ones you've been phoning it in. It's like basically the straight to video movies, and
Yeah.
and but they had actually. I don't, I don't think they have necessarily enough clout to have caused him to have to come out publicly. But they basically said, and they basically were making the accusations in that video. And this has been a month to a couple weeks ago when the videos came out, like way
Mhm.
before this announcement, and they were basically saying I guess there's been some rumors that he may have dementia, and they were
Mhm.
saying, well, is this why he's doing it? Is he just trying to make as much money possible before he retires?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
That's like.
they were just trying to run through all kinds of scenarios like why is he doing this, because it's obvious, like you can see like some of the, I mean, he, like a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know this either till they brought it up, is he actually wears at least one um,
Earpiece.
earpiece, like a, what's it called? My
Oh.
mind went blank.
Oh. What do you call it?
Well, it's, yeah, they just
A bell tone,
what,
like a bell tone for hearing, or
yeah,
just
hearing
or
aid. Excuse me, I went
hearing?
blank
Yeah,
on that.
hearing.
How stupid am I tonight? A hearing
I do it
aid,
all the
and
time.
but but they were noticing in the movie that he would have like he may wear two of them. Who knows? He might wear two because of
Mhm.
the, but he supposedly wears a hearing aid that goes all the way back to Die Hard, the first Die Hard, where he had a gun go off too close to him and it like partially deafened him in one ear.
Mhm.
And so, but they were saying it looks like he's having his lines fed to him in these movies because they would see like the earpiece would change. It'd be like in one ear, like they would see it in like both ears. So it was like it looks like he's wearing an earpiece to
Mhm.
hear his
Yeah.
lines being given to him. So
Yeah.
and
I've heard about that. I've heard that before. So I don't know. I mean, it's sad, but like the first thing I thought was like maybe some of the choices he's made, he's just not been at 100%. Maybe he hasn't really thought it out. Or I don't know. I'm not really sure about it, but
yeah,
it's just it's kind of sad. I mean, we are losing a lot of our great actors and directors, and like one generation is kind of disappearing, and now we got the new lineup. It's like I'm not sure who's going to be the next line of classic filmmakers that actors and actresses and stuff. So it's
It's not
just
too many. I mean, we'll have like a little bit of like Quentin Tarantino and Wes Anderson and P.T. Anderson, and there's a few others,
mm,
but I don't know. They're just shuffling in so many directors anymore that you don't know their names and anything like that. It's which I mean, we say that, and back in the day, there's all kinds of directors. Back in the the old movies, they had all kinds of single directors. May only directed one or two things that directed some really good movies. So you can't ever say that because they're not a big name director that they're gonna not make a good movie.
yeah, yeah,
It's just so many people go to film school these days, and I feel like I don't know, there's just something about filmmaking that kind of I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm going to make the video, and I talked about it a little bit other night on Culture Collectors about the Ghostbusters. Some
oh
of
yeah.
the about there. Have you watched it
I
Afterlife?
haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
No, I haven't seen
never
it yet.
mind. Well, I don't need to go into it too much. I just find that there's some. It's a good movie, but it's it's got continuity errors and it's got stuff in it that shouldn't be there, and
Hmm.
it's got one scene at the very well. I'm not going to say any more since you haven't seen it, but um,
Yeah, I'll look for it because I've heard that before. You brought it
my
up. And,
my video's going to come out soon about it. I've just been very
okay.
slow about making videos lately, but it's
Yeah.
just going to
Well.
be it's nitpicking it basically. It's it's just something I see in a lot of new movies, and especially these movies that have sat around for a couple of years and been released late. I just see a lot of mistakes. I was like, I mean, I understand that they after they turn the movie in to the they probably don't want to spend more money on it, letting the filmmakers go back and like re-edit and fix stuff. It's going to cost money,
Hmm.
obviously, but
Hmm.
it's just I see a lot of problems with movies that were sit around for a long time and they didn't even they had some issues, and I don't know, it's stuff that it aggravates me that most people don't care because some people have been very passionate about it and they get mad. They get mad whenever you start bringing up things about their beloved franchises, things like that, and I'm like,
Oh,
you know
yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the newer James Bond movie. It's set on the shelf for a while, and it got pushed back because of COVID, and it was over long, and like, what was this? What is that? That's another example. It's like they had so much time really to perfect it, and go back and fix stuff and tighten it up, and it just but it costs a lot to go back and reshoot things and just redo stuff. So I guess they figured it would sell, because it's James Bond. But I don't know. That's one thing I think about that one too. A couple little
what
things
did
in it.
yeah what did you think about that? I wasn't. I thought it was boring, to be perfectly honest with you. That's was
Yeah,
my biggest thing about it. It just after the opening sequence, it was just a lot of talking, and then it would go into a little bit of an action scene, and then more talking for like a half hour, and then it just was
yeah. I think they
it was
were trying to over explain the plot to everyone. Like the audience is really dumb or something. They really need to
yeah,
be told what's going on so they can follow
exactly.
along. But yeah, I thought it was really slow. And my dad's a huge James Bond fan, and he watched it, and he even thought the same thing, that it was just kind of boring and long, and um, just I don't know. He complained about certain things, about it, and we both have different opinions on stuff, but even my dad thought the same thing, and he's 30 some years older than me, so so I don't know, man. I think they should have shortened it a little bit and everything, because it was going to be the last of the last with what's his face, Craig, um, Daniel
Daniel
Craig.
Craig.
So they should have went out with a bang, been something big. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just I don't know. Newer movies just are not. I don't know, man. I wish there was a bunch of good stuff. I mean, like Nightmare Alley is something I'm going to get that and watch it. I missed it at the theater. Um, I recently saw the new Batman. I thought it was pretty good. Um, Stuff like
Yeah.
that, but there's just not enough good movies, I guess, out
Yeah.
there and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we could complain about about that, but I don't know. It's just like you were talking, I think on a live stream, Cult of Collectors, something about like you know Hollywood's just interested in remaking everything, rebooting, refranchising, rehashing everything, and it's like nobody even has to have a original ideal anymore. It's just they want to build on something that's been established and basically push it down your throat like this is entertainment, and then and then just keep doing it. They just keep refranchising stuff and nothing. And then people get used
Yeah.
to that. It's almost like the comic book movies. I mean, yeah, they're really good, but they're starting to get to the point now where there's just too much. There's too much Marvel, you know, to
Yeah.
me, you know, there's not enough excitement nowadays. It's like they just want to keep introducing new people to build a new franchise, to build this, and it's, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I love all those movies. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but it's gotten to a point where like you brought up before, like the Captain Marvel movie. Like we went and saw that, and I was so disappointed. I was just like, this is just not even good. It's just not that good,
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just it doesn't have the
Yeah.
spirit and like the first Iron Man movies, like Iron Man 1 and 2 and 3, and they were just really exciting and original and kept building on something. I don't know, man. That's
Um.
just an example of that.
Yeah. They. Can you check your? You don't have anything plugged in, do you? You went real tinny all of a sudden. Your microphone got real tinny all of a sudden. I don't know why.
Let me see. Is this better? Is that better?
It's kind of a little bit of both. I don't know what's going on with it, but yeah. Captain Marvel was. We'll just deal with it the time being. It act like it just kind of cut out. So it might come back in here in a minute. So
Okay.
no, no, don't worry about it. It sounds a little bit better now. So,
Okay.
but
Well,
Captain Marvel, the biggest issue now my issue isn't necessarily with the actor with what's her name now. I went blank after I started talking to you about the microphone, but
I can picture her, but I can't think of her name.
yeah, I'm sorry I went blank. But it's not so much her like your politics and all that stuff. I mean, that is annoying, but it's just her in the role of Captain Marvel was she's as stiff as a board. She's like it's just not her thing to be a superhero. She's just too stiff. Like when she runs, it's like her whole upper body's like real stiff. And girls kind of run like that. I agree, but um, she just didn't. I don't know. She just didn't fit the role. Like
Yeah, she just seemed like she didn't fit. She felt like she was just like wasn't a part of the movie. You know what I mean? She was just kind of there. It just I don't know if it's the way it was directed or the way it looked, but it just I don't know. It just had a weird from start to finish. It's weird. It just I don't know. It didn't fit right.
yeah,
Because usually I try to find the best in everything. I try to find it's like okay, it wasn't that bad. I did like this part, but in that after that movie, I
you know,
just like any. So I don't
yeah.
know.
But what's going? I mean, like to go back to what you were talking about earlier about Hollywood and what they're doing with the where they're kind of taking on all these franchises and basically ruining them. They're but yeah, that's basically what they're doing. They're taking the franchises and ruining them. But they're I was trying to word it. I'm trying to think of a way to word it, but they are Yeah, they're just so devoid of any kind of writing talent that they're just going in and they're kind of swooping in and getting on the backs of these big franchises like Star Wars and Marvel, and that's all. That's all Disney did. There's like, Marvel was the hot commodity at the time, so we're going to buy that. And Star Wars was like the old big commodity. They bought
Yeah,
that, and
yeah,
they've really ever since Disney took over Marvel, the movies have slowly went downhill. There was a couple that were Marvel at first that were all right because they were probably already in production and already written before Disney even had their hand in it. So that's why they came out pretty good. But I really think Captain Marvel is like one of their first movies that they really fully produced, and
yeah.
except maybe
Except
the
maybe the
except maybe the uh,
Yeah, I'm trying to think when all that began. I think you're right, Captain
yeah.
Marvel and something.
Yeah, I'm sorry to anybody listening out there. I completely went blank on the explanation of what Hollywood's kind of doing. I listen to these guys talk about different people talk about this stuff all the time that are more articulate than myself that
Yeah,
talk about this, and I'm just they it's just frustrating seeing what's going on. I mean, the problem is like instead of just writing good stories, they're all writing. It's kind of like this new Miss Marvel series and the new version of Miss Marvel. Now, Miss Marvel's existed for a long time. I think Miss Marvel actually existed before Captain Marvel, but I think Captain Marvel became, or Miss Marvel
hmm
became Captain Marvel in the older comics. But the new Captain Marvel is based off the new version of Captain Marvel, or excuse me, Miss Marvel, which
yeah,
and the person who basically wrote the comic basically put herself into the comic instead of just writing a fresh character or something. They put herself and her life experiences into this comic, and it's
hmm
terrible. It's just politics and stuff, more politics. We don't need any of that
yeah,
crap in there on
yeah,
either side. No right wing politics, no left wing politics. We don't need any politics. We just
hmm
need escapism. You don't want to go to the theater to be preached at.
yeah. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
comic books are supposed to be another world,
Yep.
fantasy. Different, an escape. Exactly, and shouldn't have any of that stuff in there. It just makes it too current. It's like if you want to know all that, just watch the news or
Yeah.
something else. It's like there needs to be a safe place to go to escape stuff and not have all that. But I don't know. That's just part of it, man. Just these corporations like Disney bought out Fox, and then they own this and they own that, and then they just change everything. And Disney owns all the Fox, backlog of stuff, and so it's like, what are they going to do with stuff? They're just going to, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, and we see it. It's all through Hollywood. It's not just. It's not. We're seeing it with Warner Brothers too. They're getting just as bad.
hmm
Like the stuff they're talking about. In the last couple of days, they've been talking a lot about. Of course, we had. I keep going. I have all these people's names in my head before, but the guy that plays the Flash and he's he's had all kinds of trouble. I don't know if you heard about that,
Yeah, some of it. Yeah.
and um, and he's had a couple of incidents where he's just done kind of despicable things. One of them was like he grabbed this girl by the throat and like slammed her on the ground, and now he got into a fight in Hawaii, and it's just they
hmm
keep him. They're just keeping him around, even though this is the stuff they preached against. Hollywood's preached against for the last 3 or 4 years. This toxic masculinity and stuff, which is stupid,
Yeah.
but they, when it comes to their own, they just hide it.
Yeah. Or try to hide it anyway.
But what's going on with Warner Brothers is what they're trying to do is basically Henry Cavill was. I don't think he ever got to be in an exceptional Superman movie. Even though I do like the Man of Steel, some people like it, some people don't. I liked it, and I like
hmm
But he made a good Superman, and I think he could have made a really great Superman under the right direction.
Yeah.
And but they've basically They won't make another Superman movie. They're basically trying to make the Trinity all women. That's what they're doing. So they're going to make Batgirl, Supergirl, and Wonder Woman. They're not going to have any men. They just want all these olives to be women.
Yeah. Well, they'll try all this, and it won't do what they think it's going to do because people will be interested in it for a minute, but everybody's going to go back to the original,
Yeah.
like it was originally a guy, and it's just been hard to remake. I don't know what the problem is with Superman. It's just been so hard to restart him. I don't know if it's Christopher Reeve or the writers and the director of the original, Richard Donner, kind of like how he started it, and everything. That just that chemistry it had. But yeah, like I liked Man of Steel. I thought it was pretty good, and I don't know. It seems like it's always doomed, like Superman. It never does what people think it's going to do.
Yeah.
Um, it never rises to the Batman level. You know what I mean? But everybody's just into it the same. But I don't know what it is. I think that's with DC. Period. I think DC's just having that trouble kind of compete with
Well,
Marvel. Marvel's just got so much going on. It's hard to,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Well, it's DC's never been handled correctly. I mean, it's had little bursts with Nolan. That Batman series was great.
Mm,
And the first couple of Tim Burton Batmans were really good.
yeah.
The original Supermans were good, but you're looking at three separate projects, basically a decade or two apart. And what? Well, I mean, there's one good DC project, but it's not. It's just a one-off project, basically a one-off. They made a TV show of it, but The Watchmen's a great. Watchmen to
Hmm.
me is one of the best, and a lot of people never. I say this all the time. Nobody ever responds to it. I don't know why, because I don't think they've ever read the Watchmen book, and they don't realize that how close to the
Hmm.
book that movie actually is, the way it
Yeah.
looks, and the costumes are slightly different, but not
Yeah.
much. And it's a great adaptation. That's Zack Snyder as well. That's a great
Hmm.
adaptation of a graphic novel. Now I've never watched the TV show. I've heard it's just awful. It's just they completely change stuff around. It makes
Yeah.
that's another that's another one. I can't believe they even made. I can't believe the people who wrote the Watchmen even let them make that. So, but they didn't write what that TV show, the Watchmen TV show, was,
Hmm.
because that stuff came later. Other people see they actually made some Watchmen comic books. They were like prequels to the Watchmen, the actual
Hmm.
comic book that came out a couple years ago. And I've got one of them. I've got the Rorschach one, I believe. They made them for different characters, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
but it's just I'm just tired of the remakes. I mean, like
Yeah.
you, I'm just getting tired of all the remakes. I mean, I just don't.
Yeah.
Well, they're calling them reboots now, and
Rebuild. Yeah.
they say that they make a reboot, so they're trying to remake it for a younger audience. But the
Hmm.
problem is a lot of these, like Star Wars and things like that, your core audience is the older people our age. People who grew up
Yeah.
with them, and
Yeah.
and the young kids probably don't care much about it, except the
Yeah.
ones that's had like really passionate, like, parents that really got them into it. But other than
Hmm.
that, the millennials aren't going to know much about it, because even people, a kid born like when your kids were born around late 90s, early 2000, I guess, I don't know when your kids were born, but
Yeah.
in that time frame, then they're 20 years removed from Star Wars when the originals came out. Not so
I
much
mean,
the prequels, but I mean, but
yeah.
those kind of lost momentum. They might relate to the prequels more than they do the original three, but the original
Mm,
three is still the best.
yeah.
I still think George Lucas's best two movies to me. This is like going to be blasphemy out there, but I think American Graffiti and THX 1138 are his best movies that he
Yeah.
directed.
Well, there was his most, original, like where he's coming from, his
Yeah,
all his learning and training, up to that point. you know, it's like the first album by somebody. It's like everything they've tried to get to, and then they have that. Then the second album doesn't really, you know, stand up to the first one. But I think those were his first two where he put everything in it. And then he had the huge hit with Star Wars, and then after that, he just, you know, yeah. I wish he would have directed more. I wish he would have stayed, you know, and just
Yeah.
directing and being original, coming up with scripts and stuff because he was really talented in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you to a certain degree. Yeah, but yeah, those first three there are really the core Lucas as I look at it. You
Yep.
know, 'cause, I mean, really doesn't have a big directing list. Mostly producing,
Yeah.
but yeah, like you said about the Watchmen, I really liked the Watchmen. I thought that was good, and it seemed like it's almost like a cult hit now. It's almost you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
it wasn't as big as you thought it was going to get big, but it was good. I really liked the way they did it and the characters, and they stayed true to the book and
Yeah.
everything. And,
I
but
know that I know the ending. They changed the ending. There's like a big giant octopus at the very end that destroys everything. But I thought the endings actually makes more sense in the movie. I don't know. It's just
yeah,
I'm sure people had a problem with that, but you can't do
no,
everything in a movie. But I thought
no.
the rest of them. Have you read The Watchmen or at least flipped through it? Or
Um,
because it
I got the first one, the one that's based on the what was it the original. I'm having a brain fart too.
there's just one. It's just one graphic
Yeah,
novel. Is all it is.
yeah, the
There's
graphic
not a
novel.
there's not
Yeah,
a series of them. It's just one book.
I thought there was some spin off type of stuff
That's
that.
the that's the stuff I was talking about. That's like the
Okay.
prequels to it
Yeah,
that
yeah,
came out.
yeah.
And
But yeah, I thought I thought it stayed true to that, real, yeah, as much as possible, and then and then another thing I really liked, I think same writer, Sin City, the first Sin City, I thought that was a pretty good idea,
yeah,
and it kind of
yeah,
stayed true to that.
yeah. That's actually another really good comic book movie. It's the first Sin City.
Mhm.
Now that was directed by Robert Rodriguez, the first one.
Yeah,
Now the Dame to Kill For, the sequel to it. Actually, I've never even seen it, but it's not supposed to be very good.
yeah, I haven't
But
seen
it's
it either.
no reason not to see it. I just haven't seen. I think I have it over here, but I just haven't watched it. As bad as
Yeah,
that is, but it was actually direct. It was actually directed by the guy that wrote it.
yeah.
Miller. What's his name? Miller. His
Oh,
last name's
Frank
Miller.
Miller.
Frank Miller.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And it supposedly it's not that good. I don't. It's kind of
I
weird,
haven't
but
I
yeah,
haven't seen it. Yeah, but I thought that was really cool though. The
yeah,
whole idea of the concept, and I thought they stayed pretty kept all the juicy comic booky type of stuff that normally a movie doesn't take. They had it in there and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool um,
but
concept of it. But
well, some comic books just have to be rated R, be a rated R movie to work. Kind of like Deadpool. You know, Deadpool's another good one. The first two Deadpools, but I just don't know what Disney. I mean, Disney claims they're going to make them rated R, but
yeah,
I don't know how they're going to turn out.
well,
I mean,
I think the newest one's supposed to be directed by the guy that did Free Guy with him, Free Guy. So
yes,
I mean, I really don't know what's going to happen with that, but I'm surprised the first one even got made because it was just so raunchy and you know what I mean. It
yeah,
didn't seem normal. That's what made it kind of cool. It kind of
yeah.
stood out a little bit and stuff. So
But I'll admit I've never really read Deadpool comic books. I'm just a normie when it comes to comic books. I've read this or that, but I'm not
mm,
really in depth about it. I had a friend that I used to go to movie see. We used to go see most of the comic book movies, and he actually knew a lot about comics. He ran a comic book store. He was the manager at a comic book store, so he knew a lot about them. And I used to talk to him about after we see a movie. He says, "Oh, how's this? How's this kind of how's
mm,
this kind of match up with the comic books?" And he kind of go through it. So I've learned some from him, but
mm,
when I was a kid, I read some X Men and just different
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, I had
But
periods of Batman. I collected Batman back around 1990, and then I kind of dipped out of it for a while. Now my son, he's the comic book expert. Like I know all this movie stuff. He knows all the comic book stuff. So
yeah,
so it's like I have to ask him to keep me up to date on stuff. So
yeah. See, that's the issue. I think that's what I was trying to think about earlier. Is like geek culture has been hijacked,
mhm.
and because they had a few hits with these comic book movies, so and now you can't really differentiate. I mean, I'll come out and tell you I'm just a comic book normie. I'm not going to pretend like I've read everything.
Mhm.
But a lot of these people now, they'll act like they know everything about comics, but all they really did was went to Wikipedia and read like a couple paragraphs about the comic book, and then now they're an expert on it,
Yeah,
and that's with
yeah,
everything. So
yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe we're kind of like that with movies. We've actually seen a lot, but we've actually seen them. But that's why I like to actually watch the movies, not just buy the movie. And I got a
Mhm.
lot of movies I haven't watched in my collection, but I've watched a lot. Compared to
Mhm.
and but that's what I wanted to say at the very
Yeah,
beginning of the show. I'd thought about earlier today is like when we talked about we haven't even started ranting really about the movies and physical media, but I was just going to say, you're allowed to. Everybody can, if they, you can collect whatever you want to. You can collect however you want to. I'm not going to what we say tonight. We're not going to run it down. Run anybody in particular down about what they like to collect or anything. There's just really these are pet peeves that I have, and probably pet
mhm.
peeves that Mike has, and people collect everything. People collect the craziest stuff, and
Mhm.
in it's just some things. When it comes to movies, I just kind of get on a soapbox about actually watching the movies, because to me the movie is the art and not the box it comes in. And I
Yeah,
say that a lot. If you like collecting these big special editions that cost $80, $100, go after it. Especially if you have the money to do it, and time to time, I can't afford stuff like that. It's not so much a money issue. I'm not rich by any means, but I just rather buy this regular edition. I'd rather buy 10 movies than one movie.
yeah.
And
That's the way I am about certain things. Yeah, because it is about the movie, and
yeah,
and I won't mention any names, but I've subscribed to different movie related channels, and it's always about the newest thing that comes out on Tuesday, and or it's only the 4K, and they only talk about this, and then when they do talk about those movies, they really don't talk about the movie at all. They just kind of like,
yeah,
here it is, and you just wonder, because I mean, if I'm looking for a movie, if I have to get the DVD, I'll get the DVD and watch it and be satisfied. I mean, Blu-ray still looks really good. I mean, on
yeah,
some transfers better than the other, but 4Ks, I'll buy some 4Ks, but it is about
yeah,
the movie at the end of the day, and like you said, that's what it is. But there's just
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how to explain. I don't even know how to start with those guys.
yeah.
How to get in there, but
Well, everybody that's collecting does watch movies, but I think a lot of people you can kind of tell when people are they stick around. They kind of watch just like what was popular, or
mm,
kind of the classic popular movies. This, for example, like we were talking about Ghostbusters and Back to the Future and stuff. You can kind of tell people that's the kind of movies they watch, and that's what they know. And
mm,
it's just it's and I just the reason I try to encourage watching older movies, and it doesn't do any good. You know how it is. You can talk to you blue in the face about old movies. If it's black and white and not
mm,
widescreen, there's some people that won't even they'll run screaming to the hills if you tell
mm,
them a movie's not in color. They just people are
yeah,
scared of that stuff. But the movies are so freaking good. These old movies, the writing's so good.
mm,
Everything, the directing, the acting, so good. I mean, they made crap. I've said this a million times. They made crappy movies back in the day,
oh
but
yeah,
the classics, the really good movies, foreign or domestic, are amazing. I mean,
Mhm.
way better than what we're getting today.
Yeah, because I mean, back then you had the best of the best.
Yeah,
Hollywood in the early days got the best like people that did Broadway, shows and actors and dancers and they got the best of the best from around the world. Even people from Europe would come to Hollywood and make movies and do stuff. But and it's just that quality has kind of drained a little bit. Of course, that was a long time ago. Of course, things change, which is understandable. But the way I look at movies sometimes is art. Like you can look at it's an art. It's art. You look at it, you can watch it a few times and get a different interpretation out of it. Just like looking at a painting or something 100 times. And poetry and books, writings and stuff. It's one of those things. But I don't know. It's just you really have to have some patience and really discover stuff. That's why if you just, like you said, if you just stay in, the oldest thing that you could collect would be the '80s. If you just, limit yourself like that, then you will never, discover anything different. You're just
yeah,
going to keep looking at it. Because I mean, even in the old movie days, they had the blockbusters. They had what was
yeah,
popular and what was, but and they made crap and they made stuff too, but it's
yeah,
but it has longevity. It's still really good now, and it was good 80 years ago or something. It's still good,
yeah.
and it's an originality. Originality and stuff like that. But what we're lacking, I think, nowadays is originality.
Yeah. Well, to not be hypocritical, Hollywood's always made remakes. They've made remakes from the very beginning. They've remade
Yeah.
stuff that's made in silence. They remade a lot of the silent movies and the talking movies, and that they've went back and remade stuff. I mean, they have, but I just feel like they didn't make it at the frequency they do now. I
Hmm.
mean, it's
Yeah. It was
it's just
spread
gotten to
out.
be ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like the Wizard of Oz. Like they did it like in the teens, and then they didn't do it again till like the 20s, and then almost the 40s when the 1939 version came out. So there were some big gaps in this, in redoing stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, nowadays it's like once a franchise hits its third film, a couple years goes by, and then they automatically reboot it again. It's like
Yeah.
man, it's kind of like with Spider-Man. They kind of did that with the
Yeah.
different Spider-Man. It's just like boom, boom, boom. It's like so. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't really figure out why Spider Man's so popular. I know, I mean, it was been a popular comic, I guess, but it's why it's so popular with the kind of audience it has because even more popular than Batman. Batman, it didn't do near as well as Spider Man did. But both
Mm,
of those movies were basically, not to say get into politics, but they're not woke movies. They don't have an agenda like
mm,
a lot of movies are trying to push. Like I have not seen Shang Chi or the Eternals because they both, you know, look horrible.
mm,
I did see Black Widow, but Black Widow really wasn't that good either, and that's probably why I didn't go see one of those movies. Now, am I going to see them or not? I do want to see them, but I don't really care, And I think that's how a lot of people are getting
mm.
with those franchises. They're just not going to care anymore, especially when they keep on pumping them full of politics and that kind of stuff, and they
Yeah,
just people are going to get fed up with it.
yeah. They're just trying to make it appealing to whatever's in the
Yeah,
headlines or whatever the new something is, and I mean,
yeah,
eventually all this is going to hit the wall. It's just going to
yeah,
get people are going to get tired of it. It's going to just not work. And then those movies we're going to look back at them. They're just horrible movies and be forgotten about almost.
yeah.
And,
But
and
I've
until like somebody 60 years from now discovers that whole period of woke movies and like there's a
yeah,
audience for the woke movie section,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, who knows?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, and well, my, the problem I'm having with it, I feel like they're trying to destroy American pop culture. I mean, I just feel like there's a it's more nefarious means like behind it, like like China being behind things like that because they own most of Hollywood anyways. I mean, people don't realize that they got big stakes in Hollywood, and it's just I
Mhm.
just. But I don't
Yeah.
want to go any deeper than that because I don't want to get into politics and stuff like that. That's
Well,
for a different time. But it's just it don't feel right anymore.
yeah, it's real hollow. It's real empty. There's not something's a lot of stuff missing from it. But yeah, I think pop culture. I think pop culture. They're going to use it to almost kill. Like they're going to use Spider-Man to almost kill the whole Spider-Man thing. To the point where nobody wants. It's just ruin
Well,
it. They just ruin it all.
well, the problem with Spider-Man being as successful as it was, now we're going to see this little. We're going to have to see a little era of like everything's going to be nostalgia. Everything we're getting is nostalgia bait too. If you notice, like
Mm-hmm.
um, Spider-Man was nostalgia bait. What else came out recently that was nostalgia? But
Oh,
they
well,
Ghostbusters was nostalgia bait.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so we're gonna.
Dune to a certain degree. Well, no, not really.
No, it was quite is original enough to
Yeah,
not be
yeah.
nostalgia bait. Well, when I'm talking about nostalgia, like they had, like they bring back the original characters from the original franchise or something. Like they brought back the three living Ghostbusters, including the
Mhm.
CGI, um,
Yeah, yeah,
CGI character as well.
yeah. That's probably one of the best examples of it. I
But
think.
they have that Tobey Maguire and thing like that in the new Spider-Man movie, and they feel like and now like Doctor Strange, I'm very interested in actually seeing Doctor Strange, but um, I feel like maybe even with the director on that, it has God did the Evil Dead, Sam Raimi.
Oh yeah.
He directed it, but they claim that they went back and had a bunch of reshoots here lately. So I feel like they're going to put nostalgia in that movie somewhere.
Mhm.
I have a funny feeling. It
Yeah.
just I have an uncomfortable feeling about some of the movies coming out. Like Taika Waititi. I like him, but he's got a lot of politics in his movies. Like here lately, I
Mhm.
like if you, he did the last Thor movie,
Mhm.
Ragnarok, which I thought was
Mhm.
good. I liked it. Some people didn't like it, of course, but I liked it. He's doing the new movie, Love and Love and Thunder, I believe it's called, but it's going to be like this weird thing where Natalie Portman becomes Thor somehow,
Mhm.
and it's like this stuff in the comic books. Though this stuff's in the comic books, but it's in these like recent comic books. What I talked about, like all the storylines are coming from comic books that's taking place in the last 10 years. That's how
Mhm.
DC is too. They're taking from Flashpoint and these semi successful you know
Mhm.
you know spin-offs of these the comic book series. Like
Yeah.
Flashpoint was like a big reset and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm forgetting all the different versions, but they're all these recent versions of everything, and it's basically the comic book. It's the era of comic books that have not been very popular with the actual comic book fans. But
Mhm.
they're using that as an excuse, saying, "Oh well, the fans want to see what's in the comic
Mhm.
books, So they're like, "Well, we're going to you're putting all the crap, you're putting all these crappy
Yeah.
stories in there, and the characters we don't want." Earlier, I was trying to think of Miss Marvel, but it's Kamala Khan now. She's like I think he's Indian or something like that, or Pakistani or something,
Yeah.
and it's not the problem. It just doesn't look very good. It just looks crappy.
It's just boring.
Yeah.
It's just not interesting and everything. I mean, Spider-Man has a very simple backstory. Batman has a very simple backstory that they've built
Well,
all this on, and they're just wanting to. I don't know. I don't see the purpose of it. I mean, that's the
yeah.
whole. The whole thing is all wrong anyway. They just keep remaking all this, and then they try to add all this stupid shit, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
in it, and then it's just I don't know. It just gets to a point where you just are not I mean, personally, I'm just getting to the point where I'm just not interested anymore. It just doesn't want me to go to the movies and spend. If I take the whole family, that's going to be $100 a night at the movies. Time to buy
Yeah.
tickets. popcorn and whatnot, drinks, and it's like, is it really worth that? Is it really worth to go out and and it's just, I don't know.
Well, now it's going to cost you $50 in gas to go 2 or 3 miles
Mm,
across town.
yeah, yeah,
And but yeah, I understand. I still go. I haven't been in the last couple of weeks, but I've been trying to go more frequently since COVID kind of started letting up last year around here. So I've
mhm,
been going more and more to the theater, and sometimes I'm seeing stuff that I wouldn't necessarily sing. I would necessarily see. Like I went and seen. Well, Dog was actually a pretty decent movie. I would have to. It wasn't that bad actually, and it was the one I was a little suspicious about seeing, and I had to eat my words a little bit because I thought, well, it looks kind of stupid. The guy, I have a friend that I go to the movies with here, and I was like, man, it
mhm,
looks kind of dumb. He kind of wanted to see it, and I was like, oh, it looks kind of dumb. I don't know about that. I had to kind of eat my words on that one, because it was actually pretty good. But I also went and seen that other Mark Wahlberg movie that was out recently, Uncharted, and it
mhm,
was it was a good escapism movie. I have to admit, like the previews looked kind of bad for that movie. They had a lot of bad, like really bad jokes and stuff in it. That the way they edited the trailer for it was, it didn't. I didn't really want to see it, but I kept seeing it. I said, well, maybe I'll just go see it, just to see the special effects and see. And it really wasn't
mhm.
that bad. The actual finished cut of the movie seemed like they didn't have those jokes in it. I don't know if they went back and recut it after people started complaining about the jokes and stuff. I don't know. I don't
Well,
know if they recut it, but the way it was cut, you just didn't pay attention to them. They were spread
yeah,
out enough that they didn't like they weren't really annoying. So
yeah.
I didn't mind that movie.
Well, they usually show like all the best scenes in the trailer to get you going. And sometimes if the trailer don't look good, it's like, eh. But yeah, my wife really loves, dog movies and those kind of types. I mean, because we saw the poster for that, and I was like, oh, dog movie,
Yeah.
and she was. But yeah, it's just, I mean, a lot of times I do want to go to the theater to see a big action movie where you got the sound and the picture, and you got all the perks of that. You want to get that big experience in. But I still want to see the little movie that has something to it, that makes you forget about things for 2 hours and not just,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess right now I'm just at the point where I'm just kind of tired of this and this, and I'm glad I have older movies to fall back on and stuff, because that's where I get most of my happiness from, as a movie goer, a movie fan. So, but I don't know. I mean, do you think it's hopeless? I mean, do you think there's any hope in Hollywood turning around some of this stuff, or is it just gonna be the same and same old for?
I don't know. It's hard to, not in the near future. I think we're in for a rough patch for another couple of years until we, for some reason, if we can't get out of this identity politics
Mhm.
portion of our existence right now, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
what's killing everything. Because the problem is it'll sound hateful to some people, but we're not. The problem is like the majority of the population. We're not black. The majority isn't gay, and even more majority isn't trans, and that's
Mm.
what they're pushing. And the black thing's not such a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. But the gay and
Mhm.
trans are very small portions of our population, and it doesn't represent anything close to the majority. But we're kowtowing to these groups like it is, and
Mm.
it's Marxism's what it is. It's just all covered up in Marxism. It's just instead of instead of you having class Marxism, they've flipped the script and now it's identity Marxism,
Yeah, it's
and
just
they've reinvented the wheel, so to speak.
yeah, it's just like back to the knee jerk thing and the sensitivity and just and Hollywood is bowing to that because it's like everybody's afraid to say anything, say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing because that could be protested against or banned or
Yeah.
something. And it's kind of scary in a way that we don't have a decision really. Our democracy is just kind of shook up in the country, and it's been that way for a
Yeah.
while. But it's
Well,
you can't have two viewpoints anymore, and just the other person be like, okay, that's what you believe, that's cool, that's fine.
yeah.
I don't believe that, but whatever. Everybody shakes
No.
hands and walks away. It's not like that anymore. Just
Yeah.
you know,
We've got a. It's everything's messed up. And I don't have any problem with gay people personally. I don't have necessarily a problem with it. Some people are religious and have, I'm kind of in the middle with with politics and with my religion and everything. I believe kind of a little bit of both science and I guess I'm agnostic more so in my religious beliefs. But
mm,
some people think, well, you're dumb if you're in the middle. You don't not made up your mind. That's just how I am. I just don't. I can't go one way or another. I believe in the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, but I don't. In other things. When I was younger, I was more to the left, just how a lot of younger people are. But then I kind of swayed back to the more of the. I've probably always been more in the middle, but I've always had some.
yeah.
I've been around, the ride a lot, but it's just, I don't know. The
Well, you're
it's the
you're
scariest
smart
period I've
enough.
ever seen. Especially with all this stuff going on in Russia, Ukraine. So
Well, it's good that you can be in the middle and kind of see everything going on.
yeah, yeah,
You're not just one way and that's it. You see the whole picture. And yeah, there's a lot of problems, and you see those problems too. Some people just see what they want to see and
yeah,
believe what they want to believe, and they don't accept anything else that's going on. Because there's stuff we don't know about that the news doesn't report, and it's stuff there's it's always been that way though. That's what people don't understand. It's always been that way to
yeah,
a certain degree. Some problems have always been around. It's not a new,
yeah,
like drug problems. There's always been drugs.
yeah.
And people have always had problems with drugs or alcohol or something. But it's nothing new. It's just so I don't know.
Well,
it's a huge question. A huge that I
Well,
don't have.
all that stuff are discussions that are not necessarily above our intelligence level, but it's so much information it's hard to get into in a couple of
Yeah,
hours, because there's a
yeah.
lot to get into with the drug problems. Because especially if you start looking into like the Vietnam and what they were doing during Vietnam. I mean, they made a movie about it, American Gangster. I mean, that's what that movie's about, is how the CIA was bringing in drugs into basically straight into the ghettos. They were purposely
Yeah,
flooding the streets with drugs to addict
yeah,
the black population, and which ultimately spilled over into the everybody.
mm,
Now the white the white population has a trouble with what's the big thing of right now that's
like
big,
fentanyl.
yeah, and all those type of drugs. It's just the bad drugs, they just let flow like water, and then they the stuff
Mm,
that's not bad, like marijuana and stuff. I personally don't think are bad. They're just I know they've deregulated a lot of that stuff, but it's
Well,
still not legal.
yeah. I mean, it's not bad until we can make money off of it legally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
it's like with alcohol. Like back in the Prohibition days, they thought it was such a problem they took it away, but they saw that it
Yeah.
wouldn't work. There was so much
Yeah.
money loss, and
Yeah.
there was problems, gangsters,
Yeah.
and all the
Yeah.
crime and
The
stuff.
crime rate skyrocketed in these cities over it.
Yeah, so it's just one of life's dilemmas. We're dealing with that now. We're dealing with a
Yeah.
lot of it. It's, it's I,
Yeah.
I, just, I don't know, man. I hate to be a kid right now. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
young kid and just being in the middle of all this stuff. It's wild.
Well, we just need to get all these. Like I'm saying, like they've made a big deal. I hate it we go into politics like this, but I think people are interested in this kind of stuff now anyway. So I don't really care to talk about it a little bit. But
Well,
they've had this bill that went on in Florida. and that's kind of stuff. You don't need to be teaching kids sexuality when they're in kindergarten. Really, in kindergarten up to high school. High school and on would be fine, but I mean, I understand 13 years old around puberty. You kind of got to teach something at that point because people's kids' or bodies are changing, and
Yeah.
but you don't need to be
But
teaching them, this craziness in the schools.
yeah, I mean, most kids are nowadays are going to go online anyway. They're going to Google whatever question they
Yeah,
have for anything anyway. So there's, it's kind of pointless, really.
yeah.
It's harder on a parent to teach what they need to teach when they need to teach it. Because I have teenage boys, and yeah, it's been interesting in the age of the internet and everything that's going on. But yeah,
Yeah.
everything's kind of connected. Everything's just kind of crazy right now, really, from
Do you?
Hollywood
Do
to
you I
everywhere.
bet. I bet you've been having to watch what's going on with your kids a lot closer in school since all this stuff's been brought up.
Yeah, yeah,
I
it's funny though.
I, I
It's
don't
kind of
know if
funny to
you.
hear their opinions on stuff too, and
Yeah.
you'd be surprised where they stand at on it. And you'd be like, well, they're not going with the flow, or they're not, you know what I mean? I don't know,
Uh,
it's
well,
wild.
there's people out there, that believe that a lot of the younger generation is going to be the ones that'll be the saviors for all this madness going on because they believe that they're kind of seeing through a lot of the bull crap.
Mm,
But a lot of these problems come from. It's really stems from social media blowing up.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think the internet has, you know, as far as watching movies and stories and stuff, I think everything's been. If you can't do it in 3 minutes or 2 minutes, the attention, is the attention span's lost. So it's kind of hard to. You got to keep
Yeah,
them fascinated. So if we watch only comic book movies, at least
yeah.
they know what's going on because it's Spider-Man, for example. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, do you want to? We're kind of into our second hour here. Do you want to? What's some of your pet peeves? We've had a few people show up that are, I'm pretty sure, here to talk about. Well, like to hear us talk about movies a little bit instead of politics. But
Yeah.
if you don't mind, I hate
Oh,
going
yeah.
into it. I did want to show you this. I got a few new things, and we can kind of
Oh, yeah.
show new things we got if you want
Yeah,
to
I got
right
some good
now.
stuff.
But I just got this in a mail yesterday. It's a I was kind of tying this in earlier, and I never did get to show it. But I never had bought a Blu-ray or any copy of this. Actually, the THX, but this is like it's a
That's a
Region B copy of
region
this.
B. Yeah.
Yeah, I ordered this. It costs a little bit more. I guess I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite by saying I'm buying it for the slip cover, but I just like that slip cover, and
Hmm.
it has kind of that poster art for the regular DVD case.
Is that
Uh,
through? Is that through? Let's
I
see
think
here.
it's A3 or something like that. It
Well,
says it says A3 on top of it, so I'm not sure who released it.
have you seen the HMV, the premium collection? This is the King Kong edition, where it's got the silver, and they're
Yeah,
basically like the Warner Archive editions, sort of, but they
yeah,
got a slipcase and they got a little bit of different stuff in it, and it's pretty cool. But you can only get them, over, UK in the UK,
yeah,
and you can't order directly from them. They only deliver in Europe. So,
yeah.
but yeah, that's some cool stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out Kenny Jones. He's popped in the. I don't know if you know Kenny or not. He's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, I've seen them pop up on.
But no, this is the best version of this I could find. There's an American release of this for $10, but I just picked this up. I like the case on it, and I thought it looked a little bit nicer than the regular the just the Region A version of it's just got a picture of the. I guess it's the guy with the bald head. Excuse me. This
Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall, excuse me, I went
Yeah,
blank on his name. Just with his bald head, with like that little earring clip in there with THX
yeah,
1138 on it,
yeah,
and I just I just thought that looked much nicer. It comes with a poster as well in here, so it's kind of cool.
yeah. I think I have. I'm trying to think of what version I have of that. I think I got the
I
regular edition of that on Blu-ray. It's I think it is that cover, that the one you're talking about. That's the one I have. Yeah, the
and
HMV
I was,
stuff really really nice. Really, I like the way they do it.
yeah,
Um, but like the King Kong on Blu-ray, been out of
yeah,
print, and so I got the HMV version of it, which is basically the same. It's the same thing, but it's just region
yeah.
two or whatever, and it's available. So I think it's all region actually. I think it's all region. But yeah, I got a couple of new things too. Actually found a toy. I got one of the GI Joe classifieds. One of the
Uh,
bigger ones. Lady J.
oh yeah, yeah. That's a good
Um,
one.
yeah, I haven't seen
So
any. I can't find any toys anymore. So
yeah, I think
um,
toys are going to get hard whenever they're going to. Well, they're definitely going to go up in price because of the petroleum issues we're having.
oh
They'll.
yeah.
It just depends how much are has been produced already. I think after
Mhm.
the like next 6 months or so, supplies go on different things, then we'll see prices start going up. They already went up once on some of the things this year, so I think it went from like $20. I think those went up from 20 to $22, I believe. Those are so disappointing. Those GI Joe classifieds because they're so sought after. You basically got to. That's why I quit trying to find them because
Mhm.
I only want to find stuff in the store when it comes to toys because it's just funner finding them like that. And I don't really like
Yeah.
pre-ordering a lot of stuff. And you got to pre-order them, especially from Target. Like Target, and their pre-orders like sell out immediately of the stuff. So you can't even get on the website
Mhm.
to get them. So I'm just like screw that stuff. I don't if they can't produce enough of those where they know they're going to sell them
Mhm.
to put in the stores, then I don't want. The only thing they produce, you can find all kinds of the stuff from the Snake Eyes movie that came out. All that
Oh yeah.
stuff was like
Yeah.
covered up with the Snake Eyes movie stuff, but nothing
They made too
else.
much of it. They made too much
Yeah,
of that. And it's not
yeah,
selling as good.
yeah,
But yeah, they had one on the shelf, and I saw it, and I thought twice about it, but then I said, yeah, I'm gonna get it. So because it's so rare to find something cool.
yeah.
Um, I did get this other thing. Uh, so 20th Century Fox came out with these in about 2005. There's a whole cinema classics collection where they had this slipcase. This is a Fantastic Voyage. It's
No,
got Raquel Welch and people in it, and it's really
yeah,
cool. I found it used, and it's in really good shape and stuff. Like, see, it's on DVD, and
yeah,
I could have got the Blu-ray real cheap,
yeah.
but I paid a little bit more, but I wanted that special edition,
Case, yeah.
and I don't mind that it's on DVD. It still looks good.
Hey, Kenny was telling I messaged Kenny earlier about coming and watching the show. I was wanting to know what your he had a pet peeve about slip covers. I'd like to kind of know what your thought about slip covers was.
Slip covers are nice, I guess. It just depends on what it is. Like, say if I get an Arrow release or like a Eureka Masters of Cinema, and they come out with a limited slip cover,
Yeah,
um, and I was going to buy that anyways, like get it because I want the movie also with the extras. Then I'll get that one. But if I have to wait till later when it's sold out and just get the release still without it, I'll get it without it also. But it just depends. But I don't think I ever buy an edition just because of the slipcover. It's always the
yeah,
movie.
yeah. I'm trying to think. When did you first? I was trying to think earlier when I first saw when I first probably got my first movie with a slip cover on DVD. Do you remember about what time? in the early 2000s, what year they started coming out with slip covers. I can't remember exactly. Probably 2002 or
Uh,
so, or
Something like that. The first time I really realized about the slipcovers was the Pulp Fiction and like Jackie Brown ones, those real nice ones.
mm-hmm.
Uh, that packaging and stuff, and I guess it's really not a slipcover per se. It's just kind of
Yeah,
part of the packaging. But I, I don't know, maybe 2004, maybe something like that.
yeah,
2003, something like that.
yeah. I picked this up. I don't know if you see it. I don't know if you can read that or not.
Oh yeah, Surf Nazis Must Die.
Yeah, no, it's a
Yeah.
Region B as well. But it's the only way you could find it on Blu-rays. Is this what? As far as I
Yeah.
know, they're Troma may have released something through Troma.
Hmm.
You can go to Troma and find stuff, but I think I've looked for that on Troma's website and they didn't have it. So
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. Sometimes you have to look that way, Region B, Europe and stuff.
yeah, Kenny says some people won't buy a movie because it doesn't have a slipcover. I'm like, you're buying it for the movie, not the cardboard. Exactly. That's what I've been preaching. I don't. That's what I preach about a lot of times. Like I was saying before, you can collect however you want to, but it is about the movie. And I just
Mm.
can't see spending a lot of money for just a single edition of a special, steelbook and stuff like that. I've got a decent amount of steelbooks over here, but I don't have massive amounts of them. But I've kind of slowed off on buying them just because, for one, the price of regular 4Ks went down. And I've said this a
Mhm.
million times, but the reason why I bought a lot of steelbooks is because there for a while the price of the regular 4K edition was only a few bucks cheaper than the steelbook, so it was kind of no brainer to buy the steelbook, you know. So and now it's such a competition to get the steelbook. I don't like having to try to rush on some site and pre-order something and everything sells out and
Yeah,
no time flat. I just don't. It just bothers me to have to do that. I'm like, I don't like to be competitive about stuff like that because that's
yeah,
how I felt. I got a little. That's how you had to be in the toy. The kind of in the toy YouTube game. Everybody was like kind of competitive against each other.
mhm,
And Kentucky's a horrible place to buy toys. Like we're probably one of the worst places to get toys in the country.
yeah.
So
Well, I do have to say I pre-ordered for a few dollars more and a fistful of dollars the 4K editions, so
yeah,
I could get the slip case because when I got the good, the bad, and the ugly, it has the slip case. So I wanted
yeah,
all three of them to have, you know,
yeah.
so I wouldn't have that one that didn't have the slip on it. Just the on the shelf look and stuff. But I did pre-order that so I could get the slips on that. But
I still haven't got any of those movies in 4K yet. I'm hoping. What I want is them to put them all together. I want to buy them together. I don't want to buy them separate. I hate that.
yeah,
I want to put
I,
them
I
in one set.
I think Kino will put them out because they did the other editions of them when they just did those other restored versions of them. They put them all out with stuff,
Yeah,
but yeah, but these are supposed to be really good, and I don't think they come out till May, so I just did a pre-order on it. But, but yeah,
but I
it doesn't really matter to me, Really,
but I did pick up that Nightmare Alley.
oh yeah, that's a good addition,
Yeah,
and it's got the tarot cards in there, which I
yeah. I
thought that
thought
was
that was
pretty
cool.
cool. And then that one come with an airplane,
Excuse me.
Phoenix, Flight of the Phoenix. It comes with
Yeah,
the airplane. I thought that was really cool.
yeah. Oh, I did get one that you said something about. I didn't realize it was coming on 4K. It's that I did pick that up. That Last Waltz.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I did want to.
yeah.
It's kind of expensive though. I just went ahead and bought it. I had a little extra money, so I was like, I'll just go ahead and pick it up. I don't own it on any. That's when I buy 4Ks. I'll definitely buy 4K when I don't have even it. I don't even have an edition on DVD. Sometimes I don't
Mm,
have some things, especially these older movies. Some of them I don't have. on DVD
Mhm.
even. So I just like go ahead and buy the 4K. You might as well buy the best, or at least presumably the best. You don't never know. That's the
Mhm.
thing. People are jumping all over these 4Ks, and sometimes I don't know how. You know how Blu-rays were in the early days. Some of those early Blu-rays were not up to snuff
Yeah.
with what current Blu-ray transfers
Mhm.
look like. So
Yeah, I think with the last waltz, I want it because I think I only have it on Laserdisc. I have a like a Japanese edition Laserdisc of it. I
yeah,
think so. But I think I may hold off until the sale at Barnes and Noble and get some of those. I think this month I'm gonna try to not buy as much this month and put back a little bit. 'Cause I've been buying a lot of stuff and I need to catch up on watching stuff too. I want to.
yeah. Kenny was saying I have to love a movie to buy a steelbook like Star Wars. I'll buy that, but there's on, there's on YouTube. Just spends crazy. YouTubers just spend crazy money on weird titles because it's a steelbook. I understand.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's excuse me, I butchered that reading.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think some people just buy, they're just interested in the steelbook or they're just interested in slipcovers. It's like that takes precedence over the movie. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
almost like it's its own different side collectible. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
they're not even looking at it like it's a movie. It's just art. I'm buying this card, you know? So,
Well, I think now. I think most of us really got locked into Blu-ray collecting. When Blu-rays came out, but I'm still if the only way I can get it's a DVD. I'm gonna get it on DVD.
mhm,
I'm like you. I
yeah,
have stuff on Laserdisc as well,
mhm,
but mainly I'll still buy the DVD just because I want the movie. If that's the only way I can get it, that's how I'm gonna get it. Especially these older
mhm,
movies.
yeah,
And some of these movies, like I was saying before, they're not going to look much better even in 4K. They might sound a little bit better because of the Atmos, Dolby Atmos, and some of those. If they've been properly done, yes, they. I mean, no, they'll look better if
mhm,
they're done properly. But
yeah. That's
how
that's
much
why I'm
better is
not.
it?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That's why I don't buy everything on 4K. Like Nightmare Alley, I might just get that on Blu-ray, just because. I mean, there might be a good difference in that. That might really do look good, but I don't know. I think
Uh,
Blu-ray
I, I,
still
I,
looks sharp. We forget about it that it's still a
yeah,
good format. You know.
yeah. I think if I was I got the 4K, and I don't know how much better it would actually look in I don't know what the difference would be from the Blu-ray to DVD, 4K to Blu-ray. So, if you
Mm,
get it in Blu-ray, it won't look much different. It's not one of those movies that's necessarily made to look super dynamic in 4K. It is
yeah.
a darker movie, but I didn't really find I didn't really think about it too much. I'll be perfectly honest with you, because
Mhm,
it's a good story, so you don't really pay attention to that stuff.
mhm.
That's the difference
Well,
between older movies and new movies is that if you get a good
yeah.
story, you don't pay attention unless you do if it's beautifully shot, it's got a good cinematography, you pay attention to it, but a good story pulls you in. You don't have to
Mhm.
worry about the visuals as much.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, like if you get it at Best Buy, you pay like maybe $4 more and just get the 4K, and you still get the
Yeah,
Blu-ray. So either way
yeah,
you look at it, but you get it on
yeah,
sale, So I guess it's one of those things, just either or. But I don't know. After I started looking at prices, it's like I think I may just get the 4K. I'm still kind of undecided on it right now. So
yeah.
because it just came out, I do
uh,
definitely want to see it though.
yeah, I got a couple of things that I think I got. But speaking of Will Smith, I did get that last movie he was in, the
King Richard.
King Richard. I got that in Blu-ray. And it's available in 4K, but I didn't try to. It sold out, I believe, really quick, so I didn't even try to get that. I just bought I just brought the Blu-ray for that. I got Blu-ray on something else, some other movie that came out recently. I just bought the Blu-ray. It's like, well, it's not gonna. It looks just
Mhm.
as good. I mean, these newer TVs too. They kind of up convert too, so it don't.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I got I think it's a 10, well, I got a 1080p TV in the bedroom, and it's still got a great picture on it when you just have
Yeah,
regular Blu-ray. I mean, it's still got a great picture. So,
yeah.
uh, you know, uh, there was something I was going to say. I
So
forgot.
yeah, some of those 1080 TVs look great. At
Mm,
the time it didn't really get any better. I mean, they really can't. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I don't have good vision anyways because I have that diabetic issue with my eyes,
mm,
uh, so but I see pretty good. My eyes stay pretty well corrected, so I can still judge 4K. But really, your eyes, human eye, can't really see really beyond 4K anyway. So if they try to start pushing 8K and stuff, it's just like starts to become the joke. And I feel like 8K, it's just going to get to the point where everything starts looking way too sterilized. It'll be too crisp, too clean. It won't be real. It'll just get
yeah,
beyond real because everything will be smoothed out because there'll be so many pixels that
yeah,
because you know how a TV looks whenever you have like when you have the some of them have like correcting software in it that
hmm,
or I guess some of them have like a chip that runs them at like 120 hertz or something like that instead of 60 hertz, and how
hmm,
fake it makes it look like a soap opera.
yeah,
It's just that software. It'll be like that. Everything will be like that, and I have
yeah,
a feeling it's not going to be good unless you go see it in a theater or something. But
yeah.
uh, but
I've heard of.
but like I said in that video, excuse me, I sorry I cut you off again.
No,
But
you're fine. You're fine.
like I said in that last video I made, you can you're not going to we're not going to get 8K unless people have fast enough internet to support it. And I don't even know how much bandwidth you will take to even support 8K. I mean, my
Oh, a
TV seems
lot.
to do all right with, but I've got good internet now. I've got like, I got I have fiber optic now here at home, and and it's like I pay for the 1,000 megabytes a month, but when it gets back to where my computer is here, I'm probably only doing half because of the mesh system I got in my house, but I'm
Hmm,
still running pretty damn fast, and it would probably support. It supports 4K, I assume, but I don't watch a lot of streaming 4K except just Hulu and things, and I'm not doing 4K movies or nothing in that. So,
hmm,
that's the main reason I don't like streaming, was because you don't get the highest quality possible. If I want to watch a 4K movie, I want to watch 4K, and that's why I like having the physical media copy, because I know I'm
hmm,
going to get pretty close to the highest possible quality picture that I can watch.
hmm. Yeah, and
So
sound
yeah,
and yeah. Yeah, I recently got we needed to get a new router because our old router was old and it was causing a lot of lag and it was causing all these problems. And we finally, talked to our provider and got a new one, and it made a big difference because it was, we tried to just stream anything and it would just kill it. And yeah, it was a big mess, but we
do you
finally got everything going pretty good now. So.
do you have fiber optic at your house?
I don't believe so. I think they had talked about putting that in. I think they're slowly putting it in, but I don't think it's got here yet.
Yeah, we've had like never had really good internet here. We either had to have DSL. I live like off the road on a farm, and there's three houses back here. My uncle, and my grandmother lived back here, and back when my parents built this house back in 1995, 90, no, about 96, and at the time, like when my grandfather was still living, he was we ran all the conduit and everything for the electric. No, we didn't run the electric line ourselves, but my grandfather went to the cable company and said, "Hey, we'll run the conduit and everything for you guys if you got, and we'll run the wire and everything for you if you'll hook it up for us. And they refused. They were like, no, and it was probably because the cable wasn't this far out of town yet, so they were going to have to
Mhm.
actually run the cable, and it was going to cost like $10,000 or something for them to run
Um,
it at the time. So they wouldn't hook it up. So we never did run any infrastructure for anything else. So we never thought we were going to ever be able to have any good internet here. I never thought we would, and my uncle's the same way. And then they started running fiber optic out here, and they ran fiber optic. See, part of the problem is like there's only telephone poles that go to my grandmother's house up the road from us, and then the rest of it that comes to our house and my uncle's house is all underground conduit. So we
mhm.
don't have telephone lines that come close to our house. But they came and they said as long as it was 1,000 foot from as long as we were about 1,000 foot from the telephone pole, which by our house was close enough that they would run it without charging us for the fiber optic. So we got fiber optic. My uncle just hooked it up anyway. So I haven't got the bill for installation yet. So I no telling what I'll probably have a
Yeah,
$500 bill whenever they
yeah,
send it to me
yeah, probably. Yeah,
for just installation. But I've got fiber optic now, so that's why we have a lot better internet connection now. I don't have a problem with it.
yeah. I need to check with
Sorry I
check with
bored everybody. I think I ran everybody off by telling that story. So sorry everybody. Let me
Yeah,
get your Kenny had another. Hopefully Kenny didn't get run off.
no, I
How
think it.
clear can you get? How clear can you get like Bogart movies? I like the DVD versions of the films. Same with the Universal monsters, like the grain in the pictures. It seems the director wanted the shadow like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. That's the key. It depends on. I think a lot of the some of the 4Ks they've been I don't know, they've been leaving grain in movies a little bit,
Mhm.
and sometimes they try to get rid of it. I think a good example of it, a movie that everybody complains about, is Terminator 2. In
Yeah.
Terminator 2, they tried to do all kinds of crap to it when they tried to do all kinds of corrections to it, and it just screwed it all up. I don't think I have any. Is it? There is an official 4K version, but it's not like an official licensed version of it. It's not like a director approved version. I don't
Well,
think.
they had a bunch of problems with that 4K and
Yeah,
T2 or that I guess Lionsgate put it out.
yeah,
I got the Lionsgate Total Recall, and they said that there was problems with that too, but
yeah.
I haven't put
But
it in and watched it yet though.
but I don't know about you. You've got some of the Bogart stuff on Criterion as far as the Blu-rays and things go, and I do too.
Yeah.
I think they look pretty good. I'm trying to think of
Mhm.
any Bogart movies at the moment that's on 4K, but I know they're coming out with Casablanca here soon. But
Yeah.
I
Um,
don't know anything
well,
else.
well, the new Indicator film noir set that's coming out is going to be an all Humphrey Bogart set. It's going to have some of his Columbia releases like Sahara and Dead
Excellent.
Reckoning and some of those. Yeah, it's going to be like 5 movies. His like later years and stuff. So,
That sounds really cool. I'm going to pick that one up.
so
Is
I
it?
don't know. They might be 4K restorations, probably. I would assume
Yeah.
so. They should look
Two.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I don't know. Some of these. I mean, I think 4K is definitely a good. Now, a lot of the people that a lot of collectors out there are new collectors. They haven't been collecting like a lot of us for like 25 years. You've been collecting longer because of laser discs, but and probably
Mhm.
VHS. I didn't collect VHS or laser discs. I didn't start collecting till I was out of high school, and till about 97, 98. I didn't really start collecting DVDs. Well, till 98, started collecting DVDs.
Mhm.
So I've been collecting around 25 years now, and
Yeah.
a lot of the collectors are new, so I can understand them kind of getting into 4K because and be heavy on Blu-ray and 4K because they just really weren't around for the DVD era,
Mhm.
and so I can kind of understand that, but I just I don't know. I don't like to. I don't want to say much because some of the guys that I do the other show with, they kind of collect, they kind of promote and collect some of these like weird like sets and stuff that are, and I just don't, I talk about it to
Mhm.
them. I just don't like these big super editions. It would have to be something very special for me to buy it like that. But I don't want to pay $100 for a single movie. Now I'll pay 120 bucks for multi movie sets, like
Mhm.
four, 5 or 6 movies in a set all day
Mhm.
long. As long as it's a good set, but
Yeah.
not like for one movie. I don't care for the box being like 3 feet thick for and filled with a bunch of supplemental crap that I don't care. The only supplemental stuff that I really want sometimes is a good book with good picture art in it, and I just want good special features on the discs themselves. I just want good
Yeah.
special features or commentary or or
Documentary.
documentaries. Yes, that's what.
Yeah, I didn't really collect VHS. I would buy odds and ends, but I really didn't start like collecting till laser discs.
Yeah.
I did back in, this was a long time ago. I would tape older movies and certain movies off TV. So I had like, blank tape, VHSs. I had a small collection of those taped off television, but, commercial free. But not until really DVD I got strong and, was collecting on a regular basis and stuff. Because, Laserdisc only went up to a certain time and then they quit making them and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. But
It's
anyways, yeah, 25
it.
years about.
Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy about Laserdisc how really, of course they were making them throughout the 80s from 78 you know till
Like 90, or
2001 was
99,
America. when did when
2000.
did when did America stop? 2001 or 2?
I think it was 2001. I want to say that's one of
Yeah.
the late
I
releases.
think it
Yeah,
went to 2002 in Japan or something like that. It went
yeah,
like a year
yeah,
later in Japan, I believe, but
yeah.
it's amazing how little the market they had and the amount of material that was put on Laserdisc,
Mhm.
especially in one decade. Because when did that licensing deal? When did Disco Vision? When did they lose that? When that patent run out and it allowed companies like Criterion and stuff to start printing discs. When did that
Yeah.
happen? Was that 88 or was that 90? It was like right around 90 when that happened.
It
Because
seemed like
that's
it
when
was.
the
It seemed like it was before then. It seemed
was
like,
it.
yeah, because it was mostly Universal titles, like MC, and then it went to MCA Universal. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking like 80, very early 80s. I
Oh,
think.
really? It was that
Yeah,
early?
I
Because a
think
lot
so.
of because a lot of the '80s stuff, the stuff that seemingly was printed in the '80s, are just it's kind of crappy because it's
Yeah.
mostly a lot of the pan and scan that you don't find. You find a very rare few movies, unless it's an old movie that was already 133-1 aspect ratio,
Mhm.
4:3. Obviously, and
Yeah.
if you find those old movies would be fine, but like the pan and scan, you've seen just a lot of like probably they were just literally VHS caught transferred over to laser
Mhm.
discs.
Yeah.
Just bad transfers and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when DVD first came out, a lot of times they took the Laserdisc transfer and they just put them out as the first generation DVDs. So you really didn't have a good quality until Blu-ray,
Yeah.
later
Yeah.
on some titles. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember getting The Big Lebowski on DVD. It might have been one of the early. It wasn't the first thing. The first thing I remember watching was probably The Mask because The Mask came with my DVD player, my first DVD player,
Mm,
and probably was one of the first ones that I watched. And I remember just being blown away because DVD, the jump from VHS to DVD was like really, and in all reality, it was only a couple hundred pixels. It was
mm,
like going from like
yeah.
280 to 480 or something. Something 280p to 240p to 480, whatever laser discs were. or what?
480.
Well, I'm sorry, VHS was lower. What was VHS 220 or something?
It was like 256 or something like that.
256p. Okay,
Something like
so
that.
but that leap was just gigantic, and I think what it was is where I never had experienced Laserdisc at the time. I'd never experienced really great audio because you got the great audio with DVDs, and the package just worked really well, and it
Yeah.
was that's what hooked me into buying DVDs for
Mm,
so many for so many years, and
yeah.
I never really thought about the transfers after that because
Yeah.
that's when you could buy you get everything in the actual, the original aspect ratios. But you do remember like going to Walmart and being able, do they have they had the full frame version or the
Oh yeah.
widescreen
Yeah.
version, and I
Yeah.
always made sure I got the widescreen version. So
Yeah. They did that for the longest time. I think
yeah,
the first DVD that I saw or bought was Mission Impossible 2,
hmm.
and I remember that. And there was a movie called Go that came out early, or that, and then there was it was like it's like an American Pie movie, one of them or something. That was like the first stuff I remember. It's just random new type releases and stuff. But
Well,
yeah.
what was weird? I mentioned the Big Lebowski. I always remember the Big Lebowski being one of my early movies that I bought because I remember going to Suncoast. We had a Suncoast in Lexington. That's when I was actually living in Lexington at the time, and I had I went there I was this when I was going to electronics school, and I went one day. We had like a class trip, and I woke up late and missed it. So I was
Mhm.
so I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I was like going. I went. So I was like, I'm gonna go see if I can find a DVD or something to buy. So
Mhm.
I went and on the way over there, for some reason, I was thinking it'd be cool if the Big Lebowski was on because I'd seen it back in the wintertime when in the theater. It's like it'd be really
Mhm.
cool if that was on DVD. And so I walk in the store and like right up in front where they were showing the DVDs off, where they were brand new technology, pretty new technology at the time, was the Big Lebowski, and I was like, you know, what kind of
That was luck.
yeah. And it was there. So what's cool about the Big Lebowski though is you just put one. It was a single sided disc, but you could choose which version you wanted on there. It's either the full frame or the widescreen.
Mhm.
So I've always wonder how that technology because DVDs I wouldn't think it had. That's a like a 2 hour movie. So how does DVD have enough capacity to put two versions on one side? Or I wonder if it's like some kind of digital thing where it actually adds it has to be two different versions of it. So it's such a strange thing how they can fit so much
Yeah.
on the DVD. I guess it just had a lot of compression, but I remember it looking and sounding really good.
Mhm.
So
Well,
I don't know.
there was a lot of movies they would release, and it would be the full frame on one side and then widescreen on the other side, discs and stuff. So I guess they only need one side, I guess, to compress everything. But I, I
Well,
can't remember.
would it have been dual layer possibly? Is that
I
how it
don't,
works?
I don't
Was
think so.
DVD dual layer? I can't remember if they were. Did they have dual layer DVDs?
I think later on, I think, but not in the beginning. I don't believe
Yeah,
so. Because I did have some movies like if it was something like say JFK or something that's kind of long,
yeah,
you would still have to have two discs and it would
yeah,
split the movie up, kind of like Laserdisc did. But
yeah,
and then when Blu-ray came out, they just put it all on one disc, you
yeah.
know. So, but yeah, I do remember Suncoast. Man, we had a Suncoast in Louisville at the Jefferson Mall, and I
Hmm.
loved going up there. We lived out of
Yeah,
town, so it was a big deal to go to Suncoast. You know, when I was
yeah.
and you could I actually bought my first laser discs up there, and you could pre-order them, and you could actually put them on layaway. Because like I was in school and I didn't have much money, so I'd put stuff
Yeah.
on layaway and get it later. But yeah, I love Suncoast, man. That was a cool place.
Yeah, Suncoast came around when I was in Lexington. See, that's the reason why I say I didn't collect VHS because I don't remember our the video stores we had in. I'm from Irvin originally, a small town, little small town,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember our video stores having. They didn't sell the tapes, like used tapes or even new
Mm-hmm.
tapes. So Suncoast was the first outlet I remember being able to go and buy VHS, and I remember I did own like Monty Python and the Holy Grail and Monty Python and excuse me and The Life of Brian. I had those two
Mm-hmm.
on VHS. I remember buying those, and
Mm-hmm.
but I never had but more than maybe 20 VHS tapes I bought throughout the year. I just never had any interest in having a big collection of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. I really didn't either. I had I had so many certain ones, but I didn't have a whole collection of anything, and I just had random stuff. But it wasn't until later on, like DVD, and really built a collection for some reason. Maybe it was just the storage of them. Like they were a lot thicker, and I don't know. It was different. I just the same thing. Like back then, Walmart and stuff didn't really have a lot of movies yet, and like they did for a while there. Like in the old days, they didn't have a big selection of movies or anything. So yeah, you you really couldn't find them is like they were. They were. Is it what you were saying? Exactly what you were saying. Like I don't remember anything like that. They were
Yep.
limited unless
Yeah,
you order them.
Kenny said he said I first bought DVD. The first DVD I bought was Bronx Tale at Circuit City. Yeah, I remember going this. We used to have Circuit City in Lexington as well. Lexington, Best Buy, and uh, Suncoast there for a while. They eventually went out of business. We had a couple other
Mm.
places that sold DVDs. We used to have it was a disc jockey, I believe.
Just
There used to
copies.
be,
Wow.
and now Richmond had a what is it called now? There, people used to buy. They might still exist as an online company, but golly, what's the name of that store? We used to have a store here in town that was like a big media. It was just a media store. They sold books and DVDs and stuff like that. What is the name of that thing? I cannot remember. I'm sorry, guys. I went blank on the name. It's been out of business now for five years or better, and I love that store. I went in there so much. It was
Yeah,
golly,
I know what you're talking about. It's on the tip of my tongue. I know it. I can't think of it
yeah.
either.
There wasn't many of them. I think they were here, and maybe there was some in Texas, and
Hmm.
um, and it was a great store. I bought so much stuff from them, and they just went out of business one day. They were closed up and went out of business.
Hmm.
And kind of sucks.
I just remembered the first DVD that I bought was actually Shrek. I just remember that, and then it was like Mission Impossible. It was Shrek
Yeah.
though. That was the first one. Because I actually got it like in a drugstore or something. They had like a display, and that's when I finally bought my first one.
Yeah, Circuit City. Actually, I bought. That's where I bought my first uh, plasma TV. I bought
Mm.
A Philips plasma. I was on
Hmm.
top of the world that day. I'd wanted a widescreen TV for so long, and
Yeah.
I finally was able to get one. And literally just a couple years later, LCDs came along. It took me several more years. That was like 2006, I believe, maybe
Hmm.
seven. That I
Yeah.
got that TV, and like it took me up to about 2011 before I got my next TV. That was a high one. I think that TV was, I forget, it was maybe $2,000 or something at the time.
Yeah.
It was up there.
Yeah.
2,500.
Plasmas. Now, plasmas was the thing to have for a while
Yeah.
there. I remember
Yeah.
that because it was like something that was like, wow, that's a big thing to get. A lot of money
Yeah.
and investment.
Yeah. So, uh, yeah, when they first started coming out, of course, in the early days, in the early days, you probably wouldn't really wanted one of the widescreens, the RCA's and stuff like that, because they just probably were standard definition. They weren't. Well, the one I had was 720, but I'd say in the early 2000s when they first came out, they were
Hmm.
probably just 480. They probably wasn't very good, really. They've probably been very expensive and not really a good TV.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, they were standard. Yeah.
But I mean, I guess if you could afford it, it would have been better than probably been better than just a standard, you know, standard
See,
tube television, But
I think around that time Japan had like a widescreen TV like that, and it was high definition. And because I think even Pioneer made TVs and stuff back then. I think you could. I don't know if they were only sold in Japan, or I'm probably wrong about that. But
well, Japan had that. They had like a high def version of the Laserdisc player. I don't. It didn't really go anywhere because it was such a massive piece of equipment. You've seen it though,
mhm.
haven't you? Seen one of them,
But
haven't you?
yeah,
They're
like
huge.
the Muse players, the
Yeah,
MUSE.
yeah. I
Yeah,
think that's it. Yeah,
they were they were just like big, man, big. Like I think they're like the X, like the 9XJ or something like that. Pioneer made.
yeah.
And they're
They're
still expensive to find. They're if you buy one, they're still pretty expensive.
yeah. They spin the disc at like a super high RPM. It's like scary, like how fast it sounds. Like you can hear it spinning it inside. I think actually, if you have a properly working system, you can't really hear it, but it spins them at like double the rate of a normal disc
Hmm.
spinning. Or like triple. It's like I forget how many how many hundred RPMs it spins, but it's like scary. They said if it ever the disc ever come apart, they felt like it would blow the player open.
Yeah, I could
Because
imagine
yeah,
all that coming apart, the spindle breaking or something, and just
yeah,
it'd make an awful noise. I know
yeah. But yeah, there's only like limited titles that were released in Japan for it. It like basically fell through the roof as soon as it was made. It was put out. They're
that.
pretty
Hmm.
sought after the disc. There isn't but how many titles? Maybe 30 titles or something like
Yeah,
that. It's very
not very
few.
many. Yeah,
I think they
yeah,
like Die Hard or something's one of them. I believe.
yeah. Yeah, I'm in a Laserdisc group on Facebook, Laserdisc Forever, and you see some trading going on every once in a while. People have stuff for sale, and I'll see stuff every once in a while. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's not very many. There's not very many titles.
Yeah, I haven't bought a whole lot here lately on Laserdisc. No any reason. I just haven't been running into them as
Yeah.
much. I need to go down. It's hard for me to travel as much right now with a kidney issue and stuff, but I need to go down to. That's what me and you need to do sometime. We ought to get together and come down here to Richmond and meet up with me, and we'll drive down to Knoxville and go to that big warehouse down there. Have you ever been to that?
Oh no, no, I've
Yeah,
heard of it.
it's called the Mick. It's got a Irish sounding name.
Oh,
It's like it's not Fitzpatrick's, but it's something like that. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I'm forgetting everything tonight. I'm horrible. I'm being
I
horrible
know what you're
tonight.
talking about too. I'm forgetting it
Yeah,
too though.
it's
But yeah, it's a nice place.
yeah.
I've wanted to go.
There's one in Knoxville and in I wanted to make a video down there because I've never seen anybody make a video. I'm sure they exist somewhere. It's on the internet, but
Yeah.
I'd like to make a video down there because a lot of people are not familiar with it. But it's just a huge, like almost warehouse full of. I
Hmm.
mean, it's media, but it's got books, but it's got a bunch of movies
Yeah.
and
Can't think of the
video
name.
games and comic books, and it's just I can't
Can't
think
think
of
of
the
the name
name of
of
it.
it.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I know what you're talking about though.
that would
I
be a
know there's some. I know there's some places in Louisville too we could get together. Like there's the Great
yeah,
Escape and some other little trader places and stuff like that. Half price
yeah,
books even.
yeah. I definitely want to come down there here soon and do that. I know I said something about doing it this past month, and I just kind of forgot about it and didn't get
Uh,
around to it.
yeah,
But
we can do it sometime.
yeah, I'd rather kind of wait till some warm weather anyway, so make it
Oh
a little
yeah,
more enjoyable.
Yeah.
yeah, half price books. I found some good laser disc at half price books in Louisville. I came down
Mhm.
there like right at the beginning of the pandemic, right before it really kicked off. I came down there and did a little laser disc hunt down, and I found like some Kurosawa, like Criterion collection down there at one store. They had like 3 or 4 of them, and the person had put
Uh-huh.
them in those real heavy slip cases.
Mhm.
The real nice ones, and
Mhm.
found those, and I end up with a big box of them. I went to that other store you were talking about, the Great Escape. I went down there.
Um, yeah.
I called him on the phone and said, "Do you guys have laser discs there?" He said, "Yeah, come on." Well, they had a bunch of
Yeah.
old ones though. They weren't in like the best shape, but I got a big stack of them in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I found some in there one time, a good little handful of them, and I was able to flip one of them and made all my money back and stuff. But I found some really cool. They were just really cool titles, like stuff you
yeah,
don't really see out in the wild, you know. And I was lucky that day.
yeah. Yeah,
But yeah.
sometimes you find cool stuff. I like finding them. I've got a backlog. That's another backlog of stuff I got to watch. I got some old movies down here that haven't been watched that I bought. 'Cause I bought just a bunch at one time and bought a bunch of bulk from half price books and other stores that I just haven't went through and watched right now. So it kind of
Mhm.
sucks. I'm a little bit of a hypocrite about watching stuff. I'd say I've watched over 80% of what I've got in my collection, but it's just too much stuff to watch all the time. I've got other things I
Yeah.
got to do, and you know how it is.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
get busy.
Yeah. I try not to make a video until I've watched it. You know, even though it might be a movie I've seen before, but I'll still try to watch it and watch the extras on it. And
Yeah,
that way I can truly have some info on it, you know, a little bit,
yeah.
but and stuff. Oh, I know what the name of that place is. McKay's.
McKay's. Yep.
Is that
Yep.
it? Yeah.
Yes, sure is.
Yeah, McKay's. I just thought about that.
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't. I knew it was Mick something, but I couldn't remember the last thing. I
Yeah.
couldn't think
Yeah.
of the last part of it. That's a good. There's one in Knoxville and in Nashville.
Nashville. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm friends with somebody on, well, the Laserdisc group, and he's got a YouTube channel, and I think he lives outside of Nashville or Murfreesboro, somewhere in there, and he goes there a lot and finds a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And
That's cool.
it's pretty cool, you know, to live that close to it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're really not. We're not really that far apart. You're in Elizabethtown. I don't know what the distance is, but you're not that far. We're not that far apart. So it's about like the same distance going there for me. I don't know how
Hmm.
Nashville's a little bit too far for to go, but for me right
Yeah,
now,
it's probably about I'm going to say 2.5 hours from me,
yeah,
roughly, I think,
it's
or
about
maybe
that
not
from
even.
here.
Yeah, maybe not even that far. I'm not really
Yeah,
100% within that range. So.
yeah. The first time I went there, I remember I'd went the first time I'd been I'd seen it like driving by it a couple of times coming back from some trip. I'd seen it on the side of the highway. And I was like, man, I've got to go there because cause I looked it up because I think it says I don't remember what it says. It says like use media or something on the outside of the building, and so I looked it up and it's like, man, I've got to go there sometime. And eventually, like I used to take karate, and like my instructor was like a having a mixed UFC type fight. It wasn't UFC, but it was like a little bit lower ranking system.
Hmm.
Little,
Hmm.
and he was having a match in Knoxville, and so I went down there to see him, and it was just this horrible rainy day. It rained all the way from Richmond to Knoxville, like hard rain. I had to drive all the way down the interstate, and that horrible, all the way down. It was horrible. Then I went to the
Oh, yeah.
store, and it was awesome. Then went to the match later and drove home. So
Yeah.
and it was just I always I always remember stuff like that. I always like to
Mm-hmm.
kind of tell the experience in a story like that. So you hear me, I ramble on a lot about things like that.
Yeah.
That's I think
But
I got that from listening to reading Hunter S. Thompson books. You got to kind of make more
yeah,
out of the story than it actually was.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I remember driving similar thing, and I was just like white knuckling it the whole time because
yeah,
I could barely see in front of me, and it was just like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
But
but yeah, that would be cool, man. That's just
yeah, that's
it. Well, I'm surprised. That's something we should really try to check out because since physical media is like disappearing a little bit day by day, one day that won't be there. So
yeah.
maybe,
Yeah, they got a pretty large book section. That seem like you use bookstores still are a thing. So
oh
they'll be around for a while. I think it'll be a long time before they start printing books, because the e-readers and stuff for books, just I don't think they've caught on. I mean, a lot of people do it, and I have a tablet that I download some books on, and but I still prefer buying books physically
hmm
instead of buying them on that. And I think a lot of people are like that. They still rather just buy a physical copy of the book and instead of
yeah,
getting a digital version. So I don't think books are going to go away anytime soon.
yeah,
Unfortunately, they're kind of a lot of people are. I think they're just lazy about, and some people just don't have any interest in collecting physical media. I can understand that. Not
mm,
everybody's like us that want to collect a lot of DVDs or have the space to collect them or have the money because they have kids and stuff like that, or things like
yeah,
that. And at this point in time, and there's so much streaming on there that, of course, that's taking precedent over everything. So I don't know if they'll.
yeah,
It's a shame. And earlier I was going to say when we were talking about Hollywood, and that's the problem. We really don't know what's going on with the numbers on these movies. We don't know how good they really are doing or how bad they're really doing, because I think they're covering up a lot of the numbers through through the streaming services.
yeah,
So especially if there's a movie that comes out exclusively in the streaming services and not in the theater. So who knows what the numbers are in these movies? They
mm,
can lie and say, "Oh, this movie did really good," and it really didn't, or because how do you know how many other than see, and they don't, like they should do, like on YouTube. You can see how many views somebody gets. They should do this with the movies. So I want to know if it got 10 million views, 100 million
mhm,
views. I want to know that. But
yeah,
they hide that stuff on, they hide that stuff on any of the streaming services,
yeah,
Hulu and things like that, and Netflix
yeah.
hides that. So
Well, records, everybody thought records were gone and they came back big, so one day people will get really tired of just streaming. It's so much and too much to choose from that they'll come back to just buying one physical item and putting it in and watching it. I don't know. I think it won't ever completely disappear. I
yeah,
mean, I don't know. I mean, if records can come back and where you have to sit and listen to it and
yeah,
take time, then I think yeah, I think it'll be around.
yeah. I don't like to be a fearmonger about that. About it ending. 'Cause I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. I just don't think it's going to progress past 4K on
Yeah,
disc. I just don't think. Now, like I said before, I thought a cool format would have been which you wouldn't. I don't know. I always thought maybe having them on like zip drives, having just a single movie on a zip drive and, have like really large capacity. They got
mhm,
really large capacity on zip drives now, like 500 gigs or something. Or maybe
mhm,
you might even get a terabyte on the zip drive. I'm not sure now, but just I'm
yeah,
talking about the one you plug into your computer, having a movie on that, and maybe they'll be able to support 8K with that kind of technology. But I don't think they'll do that because it'd probably be easy to hack it and copy the movie that way. So they'll probably never do
yeah.
it. So
Yeah, that's always yeah. Copy the file and share the file and stuff.
yeah,
But I don't know. It's not a bad idea though. to be marketed in a case, and
Yeah.
be similar, kind of like a Nintendo. What the new Nintendo? It's got like a
Switch. Yep.
Switch, like
Yeah.
a little case, and it's got a little.
Yeah.
No, it's possible, but
Yeah. I don't. I just don't know that. Yeah, that might be a solution. Those little yeah, that little type of chip that it's the same thing. That little file, that little format that Nintendo's on. It might work if they can build a
mm,
big enough capacity one to hold. It'd have to be. I'd say to hold 8K, you'd have to have almost 500 gigabytes. I don't know what 8K capacity is. I've never really looked that deep into the technology. But
yeah,
4K is like it's like 120 gig, isn't it? Something like that.
yeah, something like that. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of.
160 or something like that. Yeah.
I think AK will uh come out, but I'm not sure if it will even catch on. If it does come out anytime soon, but I don't think it will catch on. Like 4K took a while to kind of get going, so I think 8K will be really slow going. But there's always somebody out there ready to buy the newest technology. So
Yeah.
so I'm sure there's somebody
Yeah. Definitely.
dying to get their hands on 8K something.
Yeah. 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 The 8Ks. I don't know. Do you pay attention to the 8K TVs much? And I don't really look where I've got a good TV. I don't really look at them anymore for now. And
No,
so I don't.
no,
I just
I haven't been
Kenny.
in a I haven't been in a Best Buy in a while. I don't know if they might have a model.
I know they do have them, but I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I bought my last TV, my OLED TV, I'd considered buying a 8K TV, but buying like last year's model and trying to
Mm,
get a cheap one. But at the time when I bought this TV, the year before model was like $4,000 or something, and I was like, and then
wow.
I read the reviews on it, and it was like they had bad reviews. It said they'd had like equipment problems with them. I was like, screw that. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'd rather just buy the top of the line 4K TV for half that price,
Hmm.
and instead of buying like a kind of a defective 8K, So and that was a
Yeah.
Samsung 8K. It wasn't like a cheap 8K either, but it was. I was like, no, I'd rather just get a good
Yeah.
TV that I know that's going to look good. But Kitty
Yeah.
on here says, how many streaming services can you have? I think Netflix hurt the stream. It'll hurt the streams with them eliminating households sharing passwords. Um, yeah, that's the problem. Is we're getting so many stream. Everybody's making a streaming service, and the thing with Hulu allows the only thing good about Hulu is they've kind of done what I had thought that a company needed to do is almost what I thought about. I don't know how to even begin. I'm not a computer programmer, so I don't know how to begin to program an app. But basically, have some kind of app or develop a company where you like combine. You're able to combine all of the streaming services into one. Now it doesn't exactly just work like that. If you develop the program, you'd have to have obviously contracts with those companies to do it, but basically have a system where you basically just pay for one service a month, and then you get access to all of them with one password.
Yeah.
They would never do it because they would have to, have to have some kind of discount. It wouldn't work, but then and that's what's aggravating about it. But something like that. But Hulu does it with like Disney Plus and HBO Max, and they like
Hmm.
half a dozen, and some of them are just like they charge you a little extra, like $4 or $5 to get access to the other form of to the other streaming
Hmm.
services. Because I wasn't going to get Disney Plus again, but I I wanted Hulu I wanted to see that. Uh, it actually ends up it's on HBO Max, I think, but I got HBO Max and Hulu and Disney Plus and all the stuff that comes with that under like kind of one
Hmm.
pricing point. And I wanted to see they actually made a JF. It's called JFK Revisited. It's a Oliver Stone. Oliver
Hmm.
Stone went back and made a documentary, and it follows up on new. JFK information about JFK and all that stuff. It's really
Yeah,
good.
that's cool. Yeah,
But
I just watched JFK the other night.
yeah, and but that's kind of the way it's going to have to be done. Other than because it's just there's too many, and by the time you pay for Netflix and Hulu and
Yeah.
Crunchyroll and all the stuff you want, which I don't get Crunchyroll. I did it one time for a brief period of time, but all the different ones you're going to be paying more than you pay for cable, and that's the whole point of streaming services to kind of eliminate cable, and
Mhm.
it's just not And now
I've been
cable. I'll go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I've been trying to get around to watching like the Boba Fett stuff, and I want to see the Beatles documentary that Peter Jackson did, and I still haven't been able to because we got Disney Plus, and I haven't been able to. But I've been
Yeah,
really wanting to see those, but
yeah.
just but that was off the subject a little bit, but just
No, that's what we were talking about. Yeah, I just don't know the streaming. I mean, since I've had Hulu again, I've went back and watched some TV shows that I actually have on DVD, but it's just kind of I know it's easier, but it's just easier just to sit there and stream them than putting discs in, But at least I have the physical copy of the disc in case something gets erased
hmm
or they start censoring stuff like they've been doing that with movies, cutting parts out. So that's
hmm
why an important thing is to have the physical media copy
hmm
of it. So
yeah,
but I've been watching like Married with Children again. I love that show. I've watched it 100 times, but I can watch it. I've been watching going back from the beginning and watching all of it through.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I like that show.
yeah, yeah. I don't
I
know. Sometimes I think watching a Blu-ray is somewhat better. Sometimes I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
I don't know. Because streaming
yeah,
can at any moment your Wi-Fi could flutter and it just
yeah,
messes up the picture or something,
yeah,
and uh, I don't know.
yeah,
It's a dilemma, man. We're just
yeah,
full of dilemmas anymore.
yeah, yeah. I've got so much television. I don't know. It's always like all this stuff is pretty much television, except the very two top shelves, which are DVDs or Blu-ray sets. But
Uh,
everything's just television. I've got so much television. I love collecting television. I still collect
mm,
it and never stop collecting as long as they put stuff out.
yeah,
I don't. I don't. I
yeah.
don't.
But if you think about it, there's just there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of TV shows and series and
Yeah.
stuff out there, just going way
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I don't.
I still
Yeah. I don't
want to
know.
get. I still want to get the complete Alfred Hitchcock Presents like box set. I think it's like over $100. I think.
Yeah, that'd be a cool one. I don't have that one, but that would be a
Yeah,
good one. That'd be a real good one.
yeah, yeah. I've been wanting to get that for a long time.
Some of them come out, they're so expensive. But there's some that come out that are expensive. I was like, I have to have like that Gunsmoke, the complete series. I was like, I have to have that. That's
Mhm.
and I already owned like a couple. I'd owned a couple of seasons, and I quit collecting them because I got aggravated because they started doing those like part one and part two of the seasons, and I hate when and they just getting more
Oh,
money out of you. Doing
yeah,
like season two, part one and two, part A and B,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
hated that, so I quit collecting them. I was like, well, I don't know if they'll do it or not, but one of these days they'll put out the whole thing, and they did, and they did.
Mhm.
Now I'm waiting for them to eventually. For some reason, they've only. I don't know if I can reach it. I can't reach it. It's the Beverly Hillbillies. They've only put out like
Mhm.
three, four. What is that? 4 or 5 seasons. I've
Hmm.
got that set that came out in Walmart here. Hang on a second. But they've never put the whole series out. The whole series has never been put on DVD.
Yeah, that's frustrating. To just
Like I think
stop.
this is all that's ever been put on DVD.
Huh.
This is seasons 1 through 4.
Oh wow.
And there's 11 seasons.
Huh.
So
Yeah, I wonder why they did that. Maybe there's a licensing difference in licensing a little bit. Maybe I don't know.
it's all, yeah, it's all CBS. So They should
Hmm.
have all the rights. So
Yeah, that's weird.
it don't make sense because they released all of Green Acres, and I think now I don't think you can get all of Petticoat Junction. For some reason, they never finished Petticoat Junction as well. I think you can only get
Hmm.
like 3 or 4 seasons of that. I think there were 6 seasons of Petticoat Junction, but
Oh man. See, that'd be frustrating because I'd want to
yeah,
watch. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, those shows I like to watch all of that. Green Acres. I think it actually Green Acres is not a Paul Henning produced it, but he really didn't have much else to do with it. He just really got it. They basically he was produced. He didn't want to produce another. He didn't want to write another show because he was
hmm.
too busy with Beverly Hillbillies and Petticoat Junction. But Green Acres obviously takes place in that same universe as those two shows.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
he handed it over to a couple other writers to make the show because CBS at the time Beverly Hillbillies and Petticoat Junction were huge hits. So they basically they gave him carte blanche to just make whatever he wanted. They said, "You just make a show, we'll put it on the air." So
Yeah.
he handed off Green Acres, and some other guy created it. He created. There was actually like a made for radio teleplay, or not teleplay, excuse me, but a radio show that was
Yeah.
based roughly around. It was like some like Grundy's Green Acres or something like that. It's kind of loosely based on that radio show,
Huh.
and they and sorry, I don't know why I got off on that. I love Green Acres, but I think Green Acres almost is the best of the three, though. I just
Hmm.
think it's one of those shows that it's like it's like I think Married with Children, in fact, was inspired by that show a little bit, and I think it's a show. I think they made
Kind
the
of
people that
structure.
made it. I think they kind of and not. It's not the same concept, obviously. It's not like kind of the same family concept. It's different, but
Yeah.
what I was trying to get at is like Green Acres is, it's like Married with Children's like it's almost the same thing over and over. It's like kind of the same jokes and stuff, but it works like week after week. You still want
Hmm.
to watch it because it's like I don't know if it's a comfortable factor you get with the show. It's
Yeah.
like some kind of something you it's I don't know what it is, but it's just like the same thing. And Green Acres is like it. It's kind of the same jokes, but it's
Yeah.
always funny because it just seems fresh even though it's the same thing. It's weird because some
Yeah.
shows fail at doing that. They just don't work. That dynamic don't work.
Yeah.
You
It's a
know.
comfort. It's a comfort thing. I think
Yep.
somebody like 40s and 50s, our age grew up with TV on. It's that
Yeah.
comfort thing. You
Yeah.
know you know the stories and the people
Yeah.
and the characters and yeah.
Yeah. It's just I don't know. I like yeah, Petticoat's good too, and it's what's crazy about Green Acres is like the first 2 seasons really you have some of the Petticoat characters that come over to they like kind of
Oh yeah,
double
yeah.
duty on both shows, and then they eventually after Green Acres got established as a really big hit, they kind of faded away, and they would just show up like once or twice a season. But
Mhm.
it's pretty good. It's a pretty
Yeah,
cool universe, but
yeah,
I call it
yeah.
I call it the Henning verse, the Paul
They
Henning
don't
verse.
they don't really have Nick at Night anymore, do they? Where they show all the stuff. I think they changed
I
TV
don't
Land, where it was TV Land for a while. I don't know.
I don't even know anymore. I don't even watch. We have DirecTV, and I don't watch it at all hardly. Personally,
It's like
mom and dad they watch it, but I don't watch it.
yeah. Sometimes I'll go to my parents and sit in front of their TV, and you can't find it anymore. I can't find certain things, and I don't know if
Yeah,
they've changed the name or they don't have the same format anymore or something. I don't
yeah,
something.
yeah,
But yeah, I remember all those watching mostly on Nick at Night, Nick at TV Land or whatever.
yeah. Well, I think I'm about to run out of energy here. I don't know about you. We've been going about
Yeah,
two and a half.
yeah, I'm about spent.
Yeah, we've had a few people watching. I'd appreciate everybody coming in and watching and listening to
Yeah,
us blabber on. We kind of didn't kind of get ranting too much about physical media, like we said. We kind of got. I kind of like just going wherever the conversation goes myself, and that's
Hmm.
kind of how this show is. We don't try to have a set topic every week. We try to
Hmm.
have a set topic, and but then it kind of goes off and does
Yeah,
everything. So I appreciate everybody's been in here listening. So it's
it's everything
yeah,
related a little
yeah,
bit. Things a
yeah.
little bit. So
Because I don't like to just talk about physical media. I like to break into talk about the movies and talk a little bit of everything. That's kind of how my
mm,
thought process is anyway. So thank you
yeah,
everybody for showing up and
yeah,
come back the next time.
yeah.
Well, I'll talk to you later, Mike.
All right, man. Take her
See
easy.
ya.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.